Hello there, football fans. Welcome once more to the Mercurial Trequartistas Gamecast, your weekly dose of Premier League passion, predictions, and proper football talk. By way of introduction, I'm Datan, and joining me is my co-host, the man who shares foresight, not just hindsight. Mark, how are we feeling?
I'm feeling a lot less defensive than an Arne slot 3-5-2 in the Champions League.
So what's on the menu today? As always, we will start with Premier League talking points. We will then move on to our second segment, which is fantasy football tips for the weekend ahead. And we will round things off with our third section, the obscure facts segment, which is slowly but surely turning folklore into legend. So let's dive straight into it. As always, much to talk about this week. We will start with Leicester City, who until very recently were a Premier League stalwart and are also former Premier League champions. Now they've lost an appeal against a 6 point deduction for breaching financial rules. So the punishment, it was originally imposed in February. So the club is now 22nd, only 1 point from safety, with 5 matches left in the season. So, to my understanding, the breach it's connected to profit and sustainability rules, with Leicester exceeding spending limits by £20.8 million. I think Leicester argued that their accounting period should be 36 months instead of 37, but the commission said no to this appeal. What do you reckon, Mark? More controversy in connection with profit and sustainability rules. We have touched on this recently with Newcastle, but Leicester now are feeling the brunt of it.
Yeah, it seems that as far as Leicester are concerned, 1 month really does make all the difference. The appeal was completely built on the assessment period. From a football standpoint, it puts them in really big trouble because they're already not in the greatest form. There's good and bad. The good news for them, the teams underneath them don't look like they're going to catch him. Sheffield Wednesday, they're already gone, and Oxford don't seem to be able to pick up a win at the moment. But it's the team above them that's going to be important. Uh, they've got to try and catch Portsmouth. It's a tough ask, really is, because Portsmouth have been getting some results. And if you're in bad form, you just had the gut punch of the 6 point deduction. There are easier teams to chase than Portsmouth. Crucially, they do play each other. Portsmouth will be entertaining Leicester uh, at their ground in mid-April. I think it's on the 18th of April. So that is going to be an absolutely huge match. Uh, but it doesn't look great for Leicester. But you're right. Another team that's fallen foul of PSR and sustainability rules. There's still ongoing talk about whether it's going to get tweaked or improved. But right now for Leicester, it doesn't do them a whole lot of good. But 20 million, it's a lot. It's a lot to miss. But if that 1 month makes all the difference, it could be a very costly month.
Indeed. I mean, I can remember it was about, it would have been about 10, 12, or 14 years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but I read an article which said that Leicester used to operate with 103% of their turnover, which was staggering. In terms of what they generated as a club, they were spending 103% of that value. So this was quite a few years ago, but they have had success. There's no doubt about that. They have won the Premier League in the not too distant future. It was 10 years ago. And they also won, I think it was the FA Cup with Brendan Rodgers, the mighty Rodgers. But all they can do now, I mean, after the failed appeal, is to focus on on-field results. They have to sort of try and stay in the Championship. And now the way things are, it kind of mirrors a lot what's happening in the Premier League. So I think we've said so many times that Wolves and Burnley are pretty much gone. And there's a right ding dong battle for that third spot. Who's going to head into the Championship? Forest, West Ham, even Spurs, Palace. All of them are sort of still in the thick of things. But Leicester have now been dragged into the equivalent battle in the Championship with Portsmouth. So let's see what happens.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a big ask. I mean, if they do go down, they've got the stadium, they've got the ticket money. They shouldn't be staying down in League One for long.
Agreed.
and it'll sting. But yeah, it's you know, at the end of the day, the rules have been broken, and you know, 6 points. It doesn't sound a lot, but it's put them in a whole heap of trouble. So realistically, I don't see him getting out of it. I think Portsmouth will be too good and will pick up more results than Leicester will. I think Portsmouth even have a game in hand as well, so they could be going into that crunch fixture thinking we just don't need to lose. And if you're going into that kind of situation in a relegation scrap against a rival, that's a pretty healthy position to be in. But yeah, the it's interesting to try and work out where it went wrong for Leicester. I mean, they win the Premier League, and then they don't have the greatest start, and arguably get rid of the manager too soon again, which is something else we've touched on. Were they too keen then to try and hold on to sort of the success that they'd had, and try and maintain that kind of position? And did it start to go wrong then, or has it been other decisions since where they've maybe been chasing the dream again and trying to get back to that kind of competitive level? It'll be an interesting one to look at in a sense.
This is something we could perhaps touch on in the weeks ahead. I mean, it is very interesting, but I mean, personally, I think they should have never gotten rid of Claudio Ranieri. Lineker's tweet the day he was sacked, I mean, he just said it's just heartbreaking and criminal. It was something along those lines. I mean, he's a lifelong Leicester fan. He was spot on. And I do think that the appointment of Rodgers is never a long-term thing. He will get you a bit of short-term success after the first 8 months. But after that, everywhere he goes, well, matters of both like on and off the pitch, they always take a nosedive with him. He wasn't the right person for the job, especially if they were building for something long term. But let's wish them well. They are a team that we have some affection for, and let's hope they are back in the big time quickly. Shall we move on to story number two? So this is a tasty one. Again, we've spoken about Spurs a lot in recent weeks, but Spurs and De Zerbi. So De Zerbi was appointed head coach of Spurs on a 5-year contract just a few weeks ago. He replaced the very controversial Igor Tudor. So I think he's now Spurs' third manager of the season after Thomas Frank and Tudor. And this to me just, I mean, well, and to you because we've spoken about this so much, just highlights major instability at the club. He's brought in primarily to avoid relegation, with Spurs sitting just above the drop zone and in very, very poor form. The appointment, in a way, it could be seen as a short-term gamble in spite of the 5-year contract, and also a long-term project. So I think the club have to back his attacking, possession-based philosophy at this point. But he's inherited a really struggling squad. But I think they've taken the view this is the Spurs board that the team are suited to his style of play and management. So let's see how it goes. But what do you think? Is it going to work, or are Spurs destined for the championship?
Ooh, De Zerbi at Spurs. Let's skip to the next bit. Who's the next manager coming in? I have no idea. I think the 5-year contract is. I mean, it's a clever move by the board. I'll give them that because they're basically saying to the players, "This guy's for keeps." So don't mess around. He'll be deciding who's staying, who's going. Try and get a bit of authority back because the last couple of managers haven't been able to exert any kind of authority over this squad. Um, it already started controversially because Spurs fan groups were already not condoning the move and refusing to back the manager based on previous comments regarding a previous player that we won't go into here. But yeah, he's already had to sort of roll back on those issues a little bit. Style wise, I don't know. So many managed in a short space of time. They're up against it. I still don't think they will go down,
Mhm.
but they certainly haven't made it easy for themselves this season with the manager merry-go-round. But I would expect to see them get away with it. I still feel like Forest are gonna have some games in the rest of the season where they're going to struggle to score. I think Spurs will get the results to just get away with it, but it's going to be so close, and they can't let the heads drop because if they do, then they will be done for. But yeah, tough. It's tough at the bottom, like Leicester are about to find out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with you. I think Forest are in a weaker position still than even Spurs at this point in time. I understand that De Zerbi has committed to staying at Spurs, even if they are relegated. So, I mean, as you've mentioned rightly, so this underlines the club's long-term vision, and it says to the players, "Don't mess about. He's here to stay." But I mean, I was reading last night an article, and I think Spurs have spent over 800 million pounds, and well, over the last 5 years across all the transfer windows. So that's more than Liverpool, Man U, Chelsea, and City. That's an awful lot of money. And for honestly a club of Spurs stature to be in this position, it just beggars belief. It really, really does. Um, I
It's
don't
a
know
lot of
what's.
money to go backwards. It's and it's been quick as well. I mean, they got away with it last year. Uh, and still qualified for the Champions League, but this year has been it's been the perfect playbook for how to destabilize and derail your own football club. And I think that the board needs to be looked at. These aren't decisions that they should have been reaching. It's You've appointed a manager, back the manager.
Yeah.
They've fallen into the trap of short-termism and hoping for new manager bounces. Some they got, some they didn't.
Mm.
Some are yet to be determined. But when you're trying to stay in the top league in England, it's a risky strategy. And
Yeah.
yeah, they're just fortunate that there's another club as well that have been doing exactly the same thing. So, because if not, then maybe they would be in a much worse situation.
Spot on. I mean, we said all along, I mean, we were talking about Spurs and the issues they were facing, I think from Christmas onwards, well, even before in November, because their sort of form fell right off a cliff. But we said all the time they've got to back Frank. He's a proven coach in the Premier League and has been. So even if this season it was more, a season where he got to grips with the club, I mean, if they'd stayed with him, we were absolutely sure that Spurs would be okay. But now they are more at risk. Um, but what can you say? Spurs are just in an awful lot of trouble at the moment, and let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Shall we move on to story number three? So this
Oh, go on then. Why not?
concerns. So Enzo Fernandez and Chelsea. So Endo Fernandez, he was recently given a two-match internal suspension by Chelsea after publicly expressing his admiration for Real Madrid and hinting at a possible move. So the head coach, Rosinia, who we've spoken about a lot recently, he made the decision with club leadership. And in a way, it marks his first test of discipline with his squad. And I think the club viewed the comments rightly as crossing a line. And his teammate, Mark Cucurella, he sort of made not, well, comments which were fairly similar, but he avoided punishment because he apologized and he reaffirmed commitment to Chelsea. So the situation adds pressure during a difficult time for Chelsea. The results have been mixed, they have been patchy, and the fans are getting a bit frustrated with the way things are going. But what do you reckon?
Well, yeah, it is an interesting first test for Rosinia. I'm undecided whether or not he's gone the right way about it. There's other ways of punishing a player but making it less public. He could have just done the whole, oh, he's injured and not picked him and kept it behind closed doors. But by turning around and going, no, this is a disciplinary thing, we have turned around and, you know, we're deliberately not choosing him. Um, it's the kind of thing that'll either get the players on side or it won't. So they've been a volatile squad for a while, Chelsea. This is his first test of authority, and we'll have to see if he passes. It was a it was an okay response in the FA Cup. They only just managed to get a very close 7-0 against Port Vale. So, and a lot of Chelsea fans were dreading that game. But they've come through it. Next match, they're still going to play without him. And every single club that's fighting for the Champions League have now been given another lifeline. Fifth will do it. We now know that.
Yeah.
So the last Champions League slot that people are hunting down,
Mm,
the slot that nobody wants to win at the moment because nobody's putting together a good run of form, is now officially up for grabs. So
mm,
it'll be interesting to see how all of those teams respond and if they can get a run together. But there's not many games left, so
mm,
you know if a team can get a run together, you'd think they're not going to have a whole lot of competition over this. But
mm,
yeah, all eyes on Chelsea and how they respond. This could be looked at as one of the disadvantages for having such a long contract as well. I mean, Enzo Fernandez signed, what was it, 8, 10 year contract. That's a big commitment. And it's a big commitment to make when you're a couple of years into your contract and you're starting to have second thoughts. Yeah, he went to the press. He did the whole, I'm looking elsewhere. I've always wanted Spain, and it hasn't gone down well. He should count himself fortunate. He's not got Arsene Wenger there. Arsene Wenger famously let contract rebels rot in the reserves. So
mm. As did Rafa
all
Benitez. He
all
was
all
famous
eyes on
for that.
Chelsea now, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah. Wait, just a nano point. So you touched on the fifth position. Who do you think will finish fifth and also in the top four positions in the Prem? We are getting close to the end of the season and things are extremely tight up there. What do you reckon?
Well, yeah, Man City and Arsenal, the shoe-ins. Man United seem to be doing enough. Villa have had wobbles, but they've got the advantage of having the points on the board. I don't know if nerves might come into it for them. They certainly did towards the end of last season, and they were very unlucky to miss out. But as far as everybody else is concerned, I think it's totally up for grabs. It's reminiscent of the last Division One title where Leeds and Man United were going at it, and neither one of them took it by the scruff of the neck. It got nicknamed the League of title that nobody wanted to win. This could be the Champions League spot that nobody wants to go out and win because form's so patchy.
Mm,
I think it's an absolute coin toss.
mm.
Um, Liverpool look in a bad way. Chelsea look patchy, and there's other teams that could sneak in through the back door. We might have a new team in the Champions League at this rate because what Everton, Bournemouth, they're not that far off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I was thinking along those lines, but I think out of all the teams pushing for fifth, the team with the absolute worst form, and they seem to be getting worse every week, is Liverpool. And it's just staggering. I mean, we can touch on this in the weeks ahead, but the amount of money spent and the way that squad and the way they play has just fallen apart in recent weeks. It's shocking. It really is. I mean, I don't know whether it's the players. You have said quite a few times that Arne Slot's lost the plot with the players. The squad just don't seem to respond to him. And tactically, they seem all over the place. We spoke earlier off camera, earlier in the week, about fitness levels, about how they've just fallen off a cliff. The players just seem to get so tired around the hour mark, and they
Mm.
can't compete towards later in the game. So, I mean, I think, if Chelsea, Everton, and Bournemouth, if they put together a decent run of form, it's for them. I can honestly see Liverpool finishing quite low down the table, and it's just shocking what's happened to them. Absolutely shocking. But that's one for another week, perhaps. Well, there you have it. Those are the three stories this week. We will, of course, keep an eye on these stories and the other nano topics which were mentioned during the course of the discussions here. So, shall we move on to segment two now? Fantasy football? Yep.
Yes,
So,
fancy
yeah,
football.
fantasy football.
It's been so
So
long.
it's been ages because there was internationals about 2 weeks ago. Then there was the FA Cup. Uh, the return of the Prem this week is it's just welcome, very, very welcome. Interesting games this week. Let's start with West Ham v Wolves. I think the players to go for here are West Ham attackers. So Bowen, as always, and I think Somerville is back or close to being back. I think his calf injury has recovered, so he may well make an appearance. He's been brilliant the last 3 or 4 months. Who to avoid? In a way, it's defenders from both sides. So I think this is going to be a very, very tight game with low to moderate scoring. So focus on the West Ham attackers. After that, if we move on to Arsenal versus Bournemouth, so well, we've said this so many times. The Arsenal attackers are the ones to focus on. Saka in particular. Arsenal, their defenders also should score highly in this, but Bournemouth are no slouches. They've had a fantastic season. They are playing away from home, but we expect Arsenal to take this. I mean, they are out of the cup now, and they are still in the Champions League, of course, but we expect them to sort of push on for the title and secure it. Then, if we move on to Brentford versus Everton, so the players to go for here are Brentford attackers and their midfielders. Their midfielders usually score highly, and their attackers, well, Thiago in particular, he's had a great season. Who to avoid are the Everton attackers. They never travel that well, but Brentford at home, to me, are always very, very solid in an attacking sense, and they should get the win here. Then we have Burnley versus Brighton. The ones to focus on are the Brighton forwards and the midfielders, and even the Brighton defenders as well. Burnley at home. Brighton should have a bit too much for them. With the Burnley attackers, I don't think they will score. But, you can pick three players from Brighton here if you are using a wild card. They should do very, very well. Then Liverpool versus Fulham. Been pretty scathing of Liverpool just a few moments ago. I think Fulham could spring a surprise here. I don't expect Liverpool to find this easy because the team is just not coherent at all. So Harry Wilson's one to go for. It won't be as well. I think Fulham will score goals, so avoid Liverpool defenders. But Ekitike, he seems to be scoring well against teams that are a bit lower down the table. Pick him. He will likely score. And I don't know, Verts should be okay as well. He would be another one to go for. So let's see. Then Palace versus Newcastle. This should be a very, very open game. Both teams can score. So here go for the attackers from Newcastle. So Gordon is the one who's in form at the moment. Palace attackers are in pretty good form as well. Avoid defenders from both teams. Both of them will concede quite a few, I'm sure, but go for attackers from both teams. After that, we have Forest versus Villa. The ones to go for are Villa attackers, so Ollie Watkins and possibly their midfielders. Look, the safest bet is always Morgan Rogers. Avoid Forest defenders. I think Chris Wood is back. He's been injured for quite a while. They are playing at home. He usually does score more at home than away, so Chris Wood is worth a punt for Forest, but let's see. Then the final few fixtures. So Sunderland versus Spurs. This is a tough one. I think, the new manager bounce, it could well kick in because I think De Zerbi's had a good while with the squad. So let's be brave and say that, on his return to the Prem, he should do quite well up in the Northeast. And Sunderland's form's dipped slightly. So I'm going to go for Spurs attackers here. And then we have Chelsea versus City, which is kind of the plum tie of the weekend. So look, cover your ears, Mark. Haaland is the one to go for. He absolutely
It's all right. He
destroyed.
scored his hat trick last week. He's
He
done. He doesn't want to
destroyed
start anymore.
Liverpool all by himself last weekend. Semenyo, as always, and City midfielders. You can go for Doku. You can go for their defenders as well. I can't see Chelsea scoring that many. And the final game, which is being played on Tuesday night, is Man United versus Leeds, which historically is a big rivalry. So Man U at home, very, very strong, very, very impressive. The usual suspects, so the strikers, so Mbermo, Sesko. But the one to go for me here is Bruno Fernandes. He's outstanding at home. Pick him as captain this week. That's what I'll be doing. Avoid Leeds defenders. Leeds defenders have been pretty solid, especially since Christmas, but I think Man U at home are going to be a bit too strong for them. Uh, if you want to go nuts and pick a few players from Man U, because, well, I mean, just in case you are using a wild card, go for it. So they'll be my thoughts this week. What do you reckon, Mark? Anything further to add?
I can see a few cagey draws myself in this round of games. I
Hmm.
don't think Bournemouth are going to be easy for Arsenal.
Mm.
I can see them being a problem. Uh, as far as Sunderland Spurs, that's a bad one to call.
Oh.
I'm edging towards Sunderland getting this one. I don't think it's going to be a great start in the first match, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
Haaland probably be playing Haaland FC.
Haaland
I'm
FC.
hoping he's done his hat trick. That's him
Yep.
done. Pep's gonna rest him for key league games later on. He probably won't. He won't. He's playing. But yeah, it could be another tester for me anyway. Liverpool Fulham.
Mm. I'm going to stick
There are
with
fan
Fulham here.
protests set for that match.
You mean from Liverpool fans?
Yeah, the Liverpool fans are protesting the rising ticket prices. The FSG
Oh.
have announced a multi-year ticket price increase that will be
Mhm.
linked in with the CPI or yeah, inflation.
That is
And
just
I
unbelievable. I
think
didn't know
Spirit of
this.
Shankly are getting involved and trying to
Mm.
organise a no pound in the ground protest.
Mm.
We're seeing a disconnect between fans and FSG again.
Mm.
If things are going wrong in the ground during the match, that could be a very, very bad atmosphere come the end of the game. So I don't know. There, there is precedent for it. I
Mm.
think the last time the fans protested ticket prices in the ground, it was against Sunderland, and fans walked out in the 77th minute to
Mm.
protest a £77 match ticket.
Yeah.
Liverpool were 2-0 up at the time. The match finished 2-2.
It's just about 24 months ago. It was towards the end of Klopp's tenure. Liverpool were just so solid. I mean, everything was rosy at the club. It just was. It was just, the fans were together with the squad, with the management, and the board as well. Everyone was not singing from the same hymn sheet. It's just staggering to see the way things have fallen apart. There's something not right at that club.
We've also started to see a little bit of a sea change in the media as well. Ex-players after the Champions League are now coming out and saying this is not okay.
Mm.
So yeah, this feels like a final turn of the page at the moment. It's going to take some recovery, I think, for Slot to come out of this. But
Yeah.
yeah, the games don't look any easier on paper. And
No.
you're in such a bad run. There's
Mm.
there's no easy game there.
But do you think FSG are going to sell that club?
I don't think so. Not right now. I think they would if they were to sell it, they'd want to maximize the money they could get for it. And right now, you're selling a club that might not be in the Champions League
Mm.
and are in a very, very, very bad place. The time to sell is when things are going incredibly well.
Yeah.
I I I think if there were plans to, then they've certainly changed now.
Yeah. I think also, I mean, this is a more general point in connection with the world at large. So, the war that's going on at the moment. So this is affecting economies all over the world. So perhaps this is a bit of a stay of execution with regards to the sale of the club. But it's kind of like, they said that they didn't want to sort of go down the route of the multi-club model. They bought in their former director, Edwards, specifically for this role to be the person who oversees the multi-club model. I just got the feeling then that they were perhaps thinking about winding their neck in and sort of leaving. But as you say rightly, because the team's not going to get into the Champions League most likely this season, and with the general economic state of the planet, they might have to change their plans. And if so, if they were thinking mentally, if they'd packed their bags and thinking we are gone from here, what's going to happen to Liverpool over the next few years? Things are not looking rosy there at all. So, yeah. Shall we move on to the obscure facts section? So this is segment three, and Mark, I'm going to hand over to you. You've got a really good one this week, so there we go.
Okay then, right. Well, after coming out with a Scotland World Cup oddity last week, I've decided to stay with Scotland. We're in the Scottish Cup, and we're looking in particular at the 1962-1963 first round between Airdrie and Stranraer, which is a fixture that holds a British record. It's the British record for the most postponements of a football match. So, bearing in mind that the match was supposed to be played on 12th of January 1963, and the fact that it was eventually played on the 11th of March 1963, how many
I
times do you think this match was postponed?
I wouldn't like to hazard a guess, so I'll pass over to you.
33 times. The match was postponed for 33 individual times because back then, if a match was postponed in a cup competition, it would be rescheduled for the following day. There'd be a
Oh.
daily inspection on the pitch, carried out by the referee. If it was good to go, it was good to go. And if it wasn't, it was postponed again. This match took 33 postponements before it was eventually played. Airdrie did win 3-0, finally. But because of fixture congestion, they had to play their second round 2 days later and lost 6-0 to Glasgow Rangers, who were clearly playing tennis. So there you go. British record, most postponements. Will it
So,
ever be beaten? Don't think so.
don't think so. I love that. Great story. I mean, I've told you this before, but I often watch Scottish football on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. I've enjoyed this for years, and I'm fond of both teams mentioned here. I really am. But all good, all good. Well, that's all we have time for this week. Until the next time, keep the faith and please do like and subscribe to our channels on various social media and do get involved there if you are so inclined. We are back sometime next week with more TMTG goodness. Till the next time, until all are one.